Hi everyone, so as my subject says, today we'll be talking about Russian school and how was it like to go to Russian school. Well, let's begin. So in Russia, school starts when you're 6 or 7 years old. So most kids start at when they're 7 and you go straight to grade 1. Now in Russia, schools don't have a gradation like they do here, like a junior, middle, or high school. It's kind of just school. You just go to school. So you go grade 1 till grade 11 and you skip grade 4. I don't know why. There was a reason. It wasn't just me, not because I was some special child, but everyone skipped grade 4. So in my school, you would go grade 1 till 3 and then you go straight to grade 5 till grade 11. So essentially, you only had 10 years of school. In grade 1 till 3, you would be assigned one teacher that would teach you all the subjects and you would stay in the same room. But it's the same building that everyone else, so like higher grades will be in the same building. So all grade 1 till grade 11, you would be in the same school, same building for all 10 years, unless you decide to switch schools. And one huge difference between Russian school and the North American school is that you are with the same group of people for all 10 years. And because the subjects in Russia are not elective, so all the subjects that you take in school are mandatory. The same group of 30 people have to take the same classes every day for 10 years. In grade 1 till 3, you're assigned a teacher, and that teacher teaches you basic subjects. And I think we had only like 4 or 5 classes per day. And that same teacher would teach all of those classes, so Russian literature, math, algebra, except physical education. Now, physical education was mandatory for everyone. Entire 10 years you had to take physical education, PE, unless there was a doctor's note for whatever reason you couldn't go, but otherwise, even if you didn't feel like it, you had to take it. And so once you finish grade 3, you go to grade 5 and you would be assigned a different teacher. Each class had also were assigned letters. So each class, so in my school we had classes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and G apostrophe, G, G'. So each class had like 30 people and you were assigned to that same people at all times. And each class had a class teacher assigned to them. In my class teacher was also an English teacher, so she was teaching us English for English classes. And that part I really, really loved. It is very different from here, but what I loved about it is because you're with the same 30 people for 10 years of your life. It essentially becomes your second family, and your class teacher essentially is your like second mom, because she's the one who will take care of you during that time while you're at school. If you have any problems, that's the person you go into. Our teacher like organized all the events for us. We would go on trips. I really loved that part of the school in Russia. Now, the classes itself, it might be different for different schools. In my school, classes were 40 minutes. 8 a.m. is when you start. You have to be at school by 8. First class would be till 8:40, and then you'll get a break. So the breaks increase throughout the day. So you'd have, first break would be only 5 minutes, then 10, 15, 20. 20 minutes was the longest break, and that's usually your lunch. So you would go and eat during that time, and then it would go 15, 10, and 5. And then 5 from there. Like I said, in grade 3 we only had 4 or 5 classes per day, and then in grade 5, and then also in grade 3 you'd only go Monday to Friday, and then you have Saturday, Sunday off. But in grade 5 in my school we had Monday to Saturday, so you would only get Sunday off, and we had 6 or 7 classes per day every day. In school, we had 18 subjects that we had to take. If you guys are interested, there were Russian language, Russian literature, English, algebra, geometry, computer science, Russian history, world history. Then this one I have no idea how to translate, but it's basically kind of like a general knowledge subject, just like a general knowledge. We had geography, biology, physics, chemistry, ecology, economy, physical education, so PE, first aid and survival subject, and technology. And technology, it was different for boys and girls, so that's the only class that we would separate. So boys, army is mandatory for boys in Russia, so after school a lot of boys would be called to duty. And in technology class they would get ready for that, so they would study kind of military subjects and then wood crafts and etc. And then girls would learn how to cook and take care of the house. And so those were classes that we were taking for 10 years. Now we weren't, it's not like you would have 18 subjects every day. So for example, Russian would be every day and math would be every day, but then subjects like chemistry you would have like 3 times a week, English would have 3 times a week, biology would have like twice a week, and etc. Some like technology class you would only have it once a week. Throughout the year, so because there are no electives, there are 2 semesters, so it's the same as here, so you'd be September till New Year and then you have a break and then come back to school all the way till May. And then you'll have June, July and August off, so you get 3 months off. Up until grade 9 you don't have exams. You have tests but you don't have exams. How the teachers would assign a grade for you is they had, each class had a journal with all the subjects in it for every person, and the teacher would keep track and would write down what grades you got throughout the year, and then based on your grades, so say the grading system was also different, so you get assigned grades 1 to 5, 5 being the best grade, 1 being the worst. And so throughout the year you'd get assigned, like say you get a 4 or 5 on a test, you get assigned for each day, and then at the end of the year the teacher will look of like what your grades were and assign a total grade based on those grades. And in grade 9 and grade 11, those are the 2 years you had to write big exams. The reason for that is in grade 9 you can choose to leave school and go to college or a specialist school. Now you cannot go to university with only 9 grades, but you can after college you can. So some people would pick college or like a specialized trade school to go to, but most people would stay in a normal school till grade 11. And then in grade 11 you write another exams, and then you go to university. Now when I went to school, we had 6 exams that we had to write, so 3 were mandatory. We had Russian literature and algebra that were mandatory, and then you get to pick 3 electives. So I picked biology, English and law. I had to write those 6 exams, and the rest of the subjects were just assigned grades based on my performance throughout the year. Once you write the exams, back when I was studying in school, you had to write 2 separate exams, one for school, one for university, or like for each university you were applying to. Now I know it's changed. Now you only write 1 set of exams, and then based on your score you apply to universities. So once you finish school you get a diploma that looks like this. If you got all 5s for all the subjects, this would be red in color. I had my physics, I got a 4 in physics, so hence it's kind of blue greeny color. And that's the thing that got translated when I came to Canada. That's the thing that got translated for me to get into university. So the great thing about studying in Russia is first being part of this one class, a family essentially, is one of the warmest memories I have is from that period of time. But studying in Russia was hard. Classes were strict, teachers are very strict. You have zero policy, zero talking policy during class, so you could not communicate. That's the one thing. You have joint desks, so you always get to sit with someone during class, and usually because you're with the same people, you pick one person who's your best friend and you sit with that person for like pretty much 10 years. And so you always want to chat, but during class that's a no-no. And there's a no tolerance for food, so you cannot munch on food. You can drink obviously, but no food. And then no cell phone, so like that was not allowed. And you're sort of expected to get good grades. So if you're getting anything below 4, that's bad. So there's a lot of pressure to perform and study hard. But other than that, I loved Russian school. I loved the experience, and I'm glad I got to go to Russian school. And so that's kind of like sums up the experience. I'm sure there's a million things that I didn't talk about in this video, but if you guys interested in more of like my Russian experience, or more, if you guys interested in knowing more about Russia and like education in Russia, let me know below. Subscribe to my channel for more videos, and I will see you next time. Bye.
I think my camera is overheating. Let's close this nest. Is that away? I went to school. I went to school, duh, like, obviously. Actually, hold on.